Hi, and a warm welcome to our Tacton Summit, Conscious Manufacturing. My name is Cecilia Hammarin, and I'm the host for our summit this spring. This time, our summit is a two-day event where we today will focus on the why. Why should sustainability be on your agenda, and how technology can be an enabler and support conscious manufacturing. Mikael is one of our senior global product managers here at Tacton, and Michael is a customer-focused leader, and his customer project experience management includes software delivery projects at international organizations. And Michael is with us here today to talk about sustainability and CPQ, and how CPQ is an enabler for sustainable manufacturing and can support the sustainability agenda. So glad to have you here, Michael, and please get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Cecilia, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. So anyway, as Cecilia mentioned, I'm a product manager with Tacton, and I'm responsible for sustainability support in our products. And I will try to highlight some areas here where we see that CPQ can help manufacturers in their sustainability work. But first, I want to tie back to also what Nils mentioned, the product life cycle. But if you watched the session from the first day of this summit, where Irene from DTU talked about LCA, she mentioned this as being the method to kind of assess the environmental impact of your products. And when you look at LCA, so it stands for life cycle assessment. And when you make a full life cycle assessment, you need to look at all the different stages. So from material extraction from the ground, through processing, manufacturing, of course, all the transportation that may occur in between the different steps, and also through to installation, and of course usage and the end of life, then disposal or recycling. So that's really the whole life cycle you look at. And also I think it was so Joe also mentioned in her session that everyone really needs to look at this as a circular economy, and not looking at it as a cradle to grave, like a linear economy, which really means that we need to start recycle and reuse everything to basically get rid of waste completely. And that's when you really look at cradle to cradle, the circular economy. Okay, this is a bit on a high level still. But what we have seen when analyzing and a lot of assessments that have been made for different type of products, and I would say more heavy manufacturing products we have looked at, which is our main clients. They do more complex or machines and heavy machinery. And then the usage phase is really the bigger part. It's even so that it can be from all the way from just under 50% of the impact is in the usage, but up to even over 90% for some products. So the usage phase, where it will be used and how it will be used, has a huge impact in many products. That's good to keep in mind. So if you look at the life cycle assessment then, so typically what you do, and what I know many of our customers are starting to do and maybe are doing already, is to look at the whole life cycle. And what you have to do is you have to collect data points. So this symbolizes a data point. So basically as many as you can from the different steps. And in your own manufacturing here, you might have a lot more data because you own that process, so to say. But then you do an assessment of your environmental impact of your product, and then you produce some sort of report of that first to analyze and see where the biggest impact is. And then you can start addressing these areas, because that's what we want in the end. We want to minimize the total impact, of course. But what we see here, and what is quite important, I think, for every manufacturer to start think about, is that the new regulations coming, you heard it from the last day, Nils also mentioned in previous session, they will force more, and actually also we put PCRs here, product category rules, which is industry specific or really product category specific, but they will also start being more defining more and exact data points to use and how to use it. So we see all of this driving towards that there is a need to really get more data points. And also in each one, you need to have more accurate data. So for example, as we talked about, usage is quite a big impact. So here, when is it you really know how your product will be used and where it will be used? That's when you sell it, because that's when you know what customer will use it. Before that, you really can only make rough averages on that usage part. Okay, I think that was it. Yes, one thing else. So having the notes on the side here. Sorry about that. And how do you achieve this then? How do you get to this? That's where we want to make a point here, that we see that more automation is required in this process. So we need to basically to bring this from being a semi-manual process in the back end, isolated, to do the calculate the footprint. You need to bring that into the sales process, to the front end, and make it more automated. And that's where you get the more exact data as well, as mentioned previously. And yes, this is what we work with at Tacton, to bring the automating the front end. That's what CPQ does. Okay, so trying now to be a bit more concrete on what we see CPQ can help with. And we have some areas here we have identified where we see that CPQ can help quite a lot. And if we look at this one here, sustainable supply chains. So you, of course, want to select the most sustainable supply chains. And maybe that's something you do more in the back end, like and you use the ERP system to keep track of that. But if you have a connection with the CPQ and ERP, which we do in quite a few of our custom installations, then you could have that data available, which ones are more sustainable, and then you can use that in the when you configure the product as well. And that might actually, it could differ dependent on which customer will use it, where will it be used. Then it might be more sustainable to use a supplier in that region of the world, for example. So you can get help from a CPQ solution in this area as well. And then if we look at the next one, to introduce new, more sustainable products. This is, so after talking to some of our customers, at least, we know that there might be a hurdle to introduce new products or a delay. It takes longer time than you really want. And that can be for multiple reasons. One can be that your sales are a bit reluctant to start selling the new because they are more comfortable with the old products, and maybe there could be a slightly higher margin on the old one. What do I know? But there can be different reasons. But then if you use CPQ and you can introduce new products much faster. So you can basically, when you have your product team is setting up the model, introducing it, could be a new module or a new product, then you can push it out to all sales channels. So you can you get it immediately available in direct sales, but also in self-service, customer self-service channel, and also through partner sales. And you can even in Tacton CPQ, you can also force so that even ongoing opportunities has to be updated. If there is a new release overnight of a product or a module, and then when the sales rep opens up the opportunity next morning, he can see, okay, this has been updated. I need to update the ongoing quote here with a new product. So CPQ can help to much quicker introduce new products. And then this area is a quite important one. So the issue is then oversizing or over-design. And that you actually also heard from Irene from DTU, that when they looked, but in their research, they had seen that there were particularly two areas where configurators could help a lot, and oversizing was one. The other one was excessive waste, to minimize the waste. And we totally agree with that. We think it can help in a few more areas, but that's in oversizing for sure. And it can be in multiple stages, so to say. You can have oversizing occurring from product assortment perspective. So let's say you have a beam that supports 250 kilograms, for example, and then you have the next level of beam, it supports 750 kilograms. And then if you start analyzing your sales, historical sales, you can do that in Tacton CPQ by this analytics API module we have. Then you can look at historical sales for, let's say, 6 months. Then you see this maybe customer needs that has been entered. You see that they really need 350 or 400 kilogram beams, and then you can introduce a new product to fit that. So that's one way of detecting oversizing. But of course, you can do it in a later stage in the configuration phase as well. And there we have actually a good example of customers using usage data from their product. So they have, like in their machinery, they have IoT modules collecting monitoring and collecting the usage data. And then you can use that to feed into new configurations. And then you really get the right size for what you really need, not something that someone estimated, but a real usage need. And what they have seen here, this particular customer we talked to, they see that actually the configurator tends to choose a smaller gearbox than would have been the case otherwise, or even a smaller engine in some cases. And that, of course, reduces the weight, reduces the impact, and yes, it does definitely reduce the carbon footprint in the usage phase, which is the next area. And that you always want to do. As you heard from multiple previous speakers, carbon footprint is a major area for manufacturing, around 25%. I think it was Joe who said is from the global emissions is from manufacturing. So it's a big area. So you always want to reduce this. And here CPQ can help to compare quotes based on carbon footprint. So what you need is the data, and that can be that you have a few parameters available. So you can look at maybe energy consumption in the usage phase as one. And then when you have that data, then you can start comparing configurations to each other to see which one is best. And then you can also help customers to pick to minimize this energy consumption. So you can do quite a lot with CPQ, but yes, you need the data, and that's kind of key here. So this area also then to minimize waste is that's quite obvious. I think many of manufacturers are looking at minimizing the waste, and that you can do by offering recycle or trade-in programs, so you don't dispose the products, you try to reuse them as much as possible. It can also be that you use spare parts in stock instead of ordering new ones, and that CPQ can help with, provided that we have a connection to EOP typically that has the knowledge of the parts in stock, etc. But then you can drive configurations towards parts available or reused and recycled parts instead of producing new ones. So I think I covered most of that. So as a summary, basically, we see that this coming in new harder regulations and legislations, and also customer demands. We see some of our manufacturing customers has reported that they will drive towards a more precise and faster footprint data for their products that they buy, not only for a product line or a product category. And also to meet this then, this whole environmental footprint needs to happen in a more front-end stage. So in the sales process, that's where you have the most accurate data, at least in many of the data points. And that's, exactly. So number 3, that's where you get most accurate data. So to finalize, we would love to talk to more customers about this. So if you're looking into this and want to move towards a more automated process, I think reach out to your Tacton representative, and we love talking more to you. So that's all I had, Cecilia, from my side.
Thank you, Michael, for both walking us through the life cycle assessment and manufacturing sustainability areas. So again, we will take some questions, so feel free to add in the comments field if you have any questions for Michael, and Michael will also come back in the end if you come up with the questions during the next presentation. But I'll start and then we'll see if we have more questions coming in. But you mentioned about sustainable sourcing to secure ESG governance, and in the communication also from the European Commission on its proposal on the corporate sustainability due diligence shared on February 23rd. And in combination to mitigate the global political risk to stay resilient, we already see a shift of nearshoring for some of supply chains and production facilities. So what do you think we will see moving forward here?
Yeah, that's kind of tricky, but I definitely see this trend will continue. And that's also what the customers we discussed this with is talking about. So that's one thing. And if you can, as I mentioned, if you can get this whole footprint data and when you assess or when you calculate the footprint data into a more automated process, then I think we will take a huge step forward, everyone, because then we can get more accurate, footprint for the product I'm going to buy, I'm going to use.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So then, with your experience from working with clients, how would you suggest manufacturing companies to get started to be able to make sustainable products norm and be in line with the upcoming regulations?
So I think, if you haven't really started yet at all, then the easiest is, it's a kind of a big apple to swallow to go to do everything. So you have to focus, I think, on a certain aspect of your product. So maybe it can be that you look at only energy consumption in the usage phase. And I mentioned that quite a lot because that's typically a big impact factor. So if you start looking at that, then you can, as I mentioned, start comparing different quotes or different offers and configurations really based on that and optimize or minimize based on that, actually. And if you have come a bit further, then I think you need to start look at how you should integrate this whole assessment and all the data into your front-end processes.